Questions about what the auction is, how to purchase the ticket or donate items, looming deadlines for donations, and how much you'll enjoy participating will be answered by me at the auction table in Creeves Hall between the services today and last chance next week.
Sunday morning worship service of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois. I am Ann Ariano, a member of your Board of Trustees. We are so glad you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is so good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant through our shared 7 principles. The mission of DuPage UU Church is to gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. And we have one more announcement. So, in 11 days, our largest annual non-pledge fundraiser for the operating budget begins.
It's a fundraiser, Governor and Scale? I thought the auction existed so I could score homemade jam, bread, cashew butter, mustard, pottery plates, puzzles, blankets, throws, honey, and honeycombs.
The committee and the team baskets are my faves. There's quality and quantity.
What about your social calendar, Spider Girl? I can't wait to see who bids on the dinner featuring the famous Mama Icarella's spaghetti sauce, or the superpower breakfast type. And ooh, Rev Mandy and Elias have a dinner too.
Personally, I need to win the bid for a room painted by a professional. Color swatches are already dancing in my head.
Where are you finding all this good stuff?
What?
You don't know? Where have you been, Thor? And why aren't you in full uniform?
International assignment. No internet access. I dropped off the persona at the dry cleaner.
Yeah,
Oh.
get it.
Oh, okay.
Understand.
Yeah, right.
Well, you can check out the entries on the silent and live auction. Find the link to the Auction 2023 site at the top of the navigation on the church website.
View the calendar dates of parties and events, goods and services donated so far. No bidding yet. And find donation forms for your own BAFO items, tickets, and requests for childcare at the live auction.
Questions about the auction is how to purchase a ticket or donate items, looming deadlines for the donations, and how much you'll enjoy participating will be answered by me downstairs at the auction table in Creeves Hall between the services today and last chance next week.
Bam!
Pow!
Pow!
If you are online, we welcome you to greet each other in the chat. And if you are here, please turn to one another and greet each other with a wave and a good morning.
I light this chalice today for our first Unitarian Universalist principle. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Good morning. Welcome to this place of love, of communal flourishing. We enter this space to open our hearts, to expand our minds, and to see the sacred within each other. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. Please join us by standing or sitting, whatever you prefer, in hymn number 1000 in the Teal hymnal, Morning Has Come.
Please join me in our covenant. We come together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian
Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week we share our joys and concerns. Today's flowers were given by Janine Fons in celebration of Janine and Diana's 10th wedding anniversary. They are lovely. I share with you some heavier news today. This message is from Kaya Iverson. Susan and Kaya wish to share with all of you, our beloved community, some news on challenges we are facing. I, Kaya, have been diagnosed with what appears to be ovarian cancer and has advanced past my ovary. As I write this, my course of treatment has yet to be defined. I do know that it will entail both chemo and surgery. There will be an exploratory procedure tomorrow to inform the action from there. PMA and pastoral care have been busy helping us. I'm so grateful for the support DUC has already provided. Susan spent last weekend at Edwards Hospital with a pulmonary embolism. Immediate care insisted she go to the ER, and after a few hours, she was in the cardiac ICU. I don't think either of us realized just how serious this was. She got great treatment and was allowed to come home last Monday. She has new meds to take and numerous follow-up appointments of many varieties. We both ask for your best vibes, hopes, and even prayers while we face these challenges. If you meditate, please include best wishes for us. We enjoy emails and cards. Texts are okay, but we might not respond. Please hold back on calling. We will reach out as we can. We will share updates with Reverend Mandy so you know when the really strong vibes are needed. We treasure you all more than can be expressed. May the Buddha bless you. May the Force be with you. Let us hold Kaya and Susan in our hearts. I have been sharing over the past few weeks the updates about the hate crime that happened here in Naperville with the burning of a Quran by a Hindu student. And today at Benedictine University is a solidarity event at 3 p.m. The information was sent out this past week, and if you need more information, please let one of Tina or myself know, and we can get that to you all. I also wish to share with you all something that I'm sure is already heavy on your hearts. The situation in Israel and Palestine has exploded over this past week, and it has made its way onto our own territory. Last Sunday, a 6-year-old Palestinian boy was killed just south of here. And yesterday, the president of a synagogue in Detroit was also murdered. It seems so overwhelming how quickly this escalated. And yet we are not helpless. We absolutely can call and email and write our senators asking them to call for peace for all involved. May we all unite to find a path forward, a peaceful path forward that includes justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence. I would like to invite our children to come forward and have a little chat. Children of all ages are welcome. The young at heart. everyone. So I'm curious to know what you believe is the best food. What is the best food? Ice cream.
Pizza.
Pizza.
Cookies.
Cookies. Sophia, you don't have an answer? Spaghetti. Mac and cheese. Banana, donut. Wow, you all have a lot of favorite foods. What are some of the adults' favorite foods? Escargot, wow. You are definitely a Unitarian Universalist. Caramel apples. Oh my God, you guys are all making me hungry. Now, because you like spaghetti and you like mac and cheese, does that mean we can't get along? No. Do you think I'm a bad person because I like mashed potatoes the best? Oh, good. You don't like mashed potatoes? No, do you? But do you think we can be friends even if we like different foods? Yeah. Well, we as Unitarian Universalists really value that freedom that each of us has to believe about things, right? And not just things like what's the best food, but also things like why are we here? Or what's the meaning of our lives? These really big questions, right? What's most important and valuable to me? How can I be true to the purpose I see for being alive in the world? Those are big questions, right? And we might have different answers, right? But we believe in the freedom to believe what we choose about things. But we also have a responsibility to work out those beliefs with thought and care. So I have another question for you. Can we believe anything we want? Can we? No. I think that if we believe anything we want, we could actually believe that hurting people is okay, right? And we don't believe that, do we? No. So when we talk about, in our principles, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, that's what we're talking about, right? That we're believing things that... Right. So, how do we know what we can believe in if we can't believe whatever we want?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, I want to say there might be something that unifies or brings together all of the things we believe. So when you think about our 7 principles, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the interconnected web of all existence, justice and compassion for all people, is there one word that you can think of that kind of defines all of those things? I think it might be a 4-letter word. It even has a symbol. Love. I think you might be right. And in fact, love is part of the universal part of Unitarian Universalism. Our Universalism says that we're all important and all worthy of love, that we can all like different foods and disagree about those foods, but that we still can eat what we like and live in community together, right? Love's important, right? Yeah. But love also says that we can make mistakes sometimes and still be loved, right? So if I accidentally get upset about something, I'm not a bad person, am I? But does that mean I might have hurt somebody? So what do we do?
Sorry, say sorry.
You say you're sorry, right? And that shows that you care and love. You're exactly right, Ellie. A lot. Yeah. So I want you to turn around and look at all the people behind you. Do you see all these people out there? They're all here because they love each other and they love you. It's a pretty amazing space to be in, right? especially when sometimes the world is big and scary. You always have a place to love each other here, right? Yeah. Thank you for coming and chatting with me today. I hope that you know that you are little ambassadors for love in our world, and we're here to support you. Thank you for coming. You can go play again if you'd like. Please join me in singing to our children.
Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community. Your contribution supports the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in the world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. During October, our special offering will benefit Donka of Wheaton, nominated by Barbara Roos. Donka Incorporated provides people with disabilities with computer training, assistive technology, and job placement services. Their mission is to empower abilities through technology by teaching individuals with disabilities to use assistive technology. For more information on Donka, visit their website at donkainc.org. This morning's offering to support the work of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. When someone asks you what religion you are, how do you respond? Do you say, I'm a Unitarian Universalist? Or do you use a shortcut and just say, I'm a Unitarian? When the Unitarians and Universalists finally merged in 1961, it had been a long time coming. The denominations had been considering consolidation for about 100 years. One of the Universalists' most serious concerns about the merger was the fear that their history would be swallowed up by the more numerous Unitarians. Given what most UUs know about Universalism, it turns out this is not an unreasonable concern. So today, I will touch on some of the Universalist history and our Universalist forebears. Universalism is the belief that all people will be eventually saved, regardless of their beliefs or actions in this life. Their sins will be forgiven, and they will have eternal life. American Universalism developed theologically over time from this definition, and by the late 19th century, it promoted a higher criticism of the Bible, the need to establish a universal beloved community through social engagement, and reconciliation between religion and science. In light of this evolution, the term universalism took on the meaning of a religion for all people, rather than its original reference to the doctrine of universal salvation. Universalism was first brought to America by George de Benneville. In addition to the universal salvation, Benneville preached that no church held the whole truth, but that every church held part of the truth. He did not want to create a new Christian sect. He wanted rather to unite those that already existed. Does this merging sound familiar? He began his work in America in 1741, 39 years before John Murray, a more widely known American Universalist. Benneville also played an important role in the development of religious freedom and tolerance in America. John Murray was an English Universalist theologian who emigrated to America in 1770. He wrote the book Universal Salvation, which helped to spread Universalism in America, though as a separate Christian sect. Murray was a powerful preacher and debater, and he was able to convert many people to Universalism. You may recognize his name from one of our few UU myths, where a despondent Murray's ship was stranded on a sandbar, and he was convinced by Thomas Powder to preach if the ship wasn't freed by Sunday. Probably the most important Universalist theologian is Hosea Ballou, considered to be the father of American Universalists. He was a self-educated man and a prolific writer, publishing several books and articles on universalism. His seminal work was A Treatise on Atonement, in which he defined theology as a science of human experience. And so, we ought not to argue over religious matters of truth, which we have no knowledge of by experience. This became central to Universalist theology throughout the 19th century. Ballou was also a gifted preacher, and he served as minister of the Second Universalist Society of Boston for a quarter of a century until his death in 1852. Universalism was also one of the first religious denominations in America to ordain women. Olympia Brown was the first woman ordained as a Universalist minister in 1863. She was the first woman to attend the Universalist Theological School, and the positive reception she received when she preached at local churches convinced many of the ministers to vote to allow her to be ordained. She was the minister of several churches, including the Universalist Church in Racine, Wisconsin, which she revitalized and made a cultural center of the area. This is now the Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. Throughout her ministry, she was also active in women's suffrage, and she eventually left full-time ministry to work for a woman's right to vote. Universalism's long and significant history is fascinating and relevant, and today I've only touched on the smallest part. To better understand who we are as Unitarian Universalists, we need to understand both the branches of religion we come from. And so I hope that what you've heard today will whet your appetite to learn a little bit more about our Universalist roots.
Please stand in body or spirit to join us in singing hymn number 410, Surprised by Joy.
Surprised by joy, no song can tell, no thought can come. Still we stand to celebrate eternal love, to reach for one another's hand. Beyond our gifts, let's lift the Lord to mortals give the love of and love of friend. Our chains are lost to place the land. May know that love here come alive. Life's deepest treasure is made known, and in forgiving, giving all, inseparably to all as one.
I have spoken before about our faith being salvific, meaning that people find salvation in our faith. Now, for many Unitarian Universalists that are former Christians, or for UUs who were of other traditions who experienced attempts at conversion, this may be a difficult term to swallow, salvation. There's baggage and maybe even trauma associated with the word. But today I want to share with you why I use this word. I reclaim it from its traditional use and redefine it for myself. To understand this, I want you to take a journey with me. Growing up in the Dutch Calvinist tradition meant that from a very early age, I was taught and expected to believe in the doctrine of total depravity. Total depravity is the theological concept that we are born sinners into a sinful world and have natural tendencies to sin. It is only through God's grace as a complete and total gift given only to God's chosen, because Calvinists believe in predestination, that one can be saved. This is why Calvinists are referred to as God's frozen chosen. Now, as a small child, I was taught about how unworthy and sinful I was through this doctrine, but my family also understood God as love and Jesus as enacting this love through his crucifixion. While it didn't always make sense to a 5-year-old, I could grasp that I made mistakes and Jesus would forgive them. There was comfort in this because I wanted to be with my mother who was dying and eventually who passed. While this was my early childhood understanding, I was eventually impacted with another theology when my stepmother entered our family with her Wesleyan theology. Now, there are two main forms of Wesleyan theology. One is known as the Methodist Church, and the other is the Wesleyan Church, which is smaller and has many offshoots, including the Pentecostal holiness movement. How many of you have heard of that? Yeah, they're the snake handlers, if you've ever heard of that. Yes. That was not my mother. My mother actually grew up in the Wesleyan Church. At the root of these traditions, but especially in the Wesleyan and holiness movement, is the concept of purity. They agree with Calvinists that we're depraved at birth, though they use different language, but they disagree in predestination. Rather, we must be compelled to be saved when we realize our utter sinfulness. But here's the clincher in Wesleyan theology. In order to remain saved, we have to be pure, sinless. For some, this is a literal translation of scripture about women wearing head coverings, dressing only in skirts so not as to lead men astray, no smoking, drinking, swearing, dancing, card playing. You must train your thoughts to be pure. You must obey your parents, who are depicted as almost godlike. Purity culture is a dangerous and slippery slope that can easily move into performative rather than heartfelt action. By the way, in the Methodist tradition, there's a different understanding of purity, but it's there. It's just not so outward, more inward. So you can imagine that as a child, I came very easily to the conclusion that I was not worthy. And it wasn't simply about not being good enough for a parent or a grandparent, though I'm sure that was there. It was about not being good enough for God. There was a terror that existed in my young childhood psyche that God's love is disciplinary. It meant that when a mistake was made, it was a reflection of who I was as a person and not simply a learning moment. When I disobeyed, my action was taken as a malicious attempt to align with evil, to thwart my parents, and to disappoint God. Moreover, the very normal act of acting out over the grief of my mother's death was considered sinful. This is religious trauma. I bet some of you all can relate to this to a certain extent, or many of you at least. Now, lest you think my parents and grandparents were totally evil, they were doing this because they firmly believed that my eternal salvation was at stake. And you can imagine what they think of me as a Unitarian Universalist minister. I'm not excusing their behavior. I'm still working to rid myself of some of my feelings of unworthiness after all this time. However, these two theological traditions, steeped in a sense of fear, were about my family being afraid for my soul. And I suspect, as I said, that some of you have similar childhood understandings if you grew up in a household that believed in sin and damnation. And I suspect that for some of you, there may be pieces of this that are related to your coming out as queer, lesbian, or gay, or maybe as being a woman. I have good news today, my beloveds. Good news of a different kind of salvation. Unitarianism is the theological concept of one God. It rejects the theology of the Trinity, God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit. While our lineage of this tradition is strong today in the sense that we have kept much of the Unitarian Church's polity, how our churches and denominations run, and we've kept the individualism, transcendentalism, and rationalism of Unitarian Universalism, we have not kept the theological idea of one God. Primarily because most of us in this congregation, in most UU congregations, are agnostic or atheists in our belief systems. But also because we require no belief in doctrine at all as a part of our faith tradition, which means that sometimes we even have Trinitarians in our midst. The Unitarian part of Unitarian Universalism, as it was originally meant, is not really a part of who we are anymore. But our universalism, however, is a different story. Universalism, as Kelly shared, is the concept that all shall be saved from hell, that a good and loving God would not condemn sinners to hell, but save them all. Now, this has changed for many of us, since very few of us believe in hell at all. But the undergirding of universalism is that we are not depraved, because we are worthy. Moreover, we can make mistakes and cause harm, But even when we do so, we can take action to transform ourselves into someone that learns and does better. And actually, this last piece is important because it goes directly against the hyper-individualism, godlike nature that Unitarians created for themselves in the early establishing of the church here in the United States that we still sometimes cling to. Universalism believes in second chances, in recovenanting, and in love. Universalism is a legacy that we have not lost. It's embedded in our 7 principles and our polity and our covenant as a church. When Universalism was first systematically articulated by Hosea Ballou in the early 1800s, it was life-changing, as it was for me in the early 2000s. Think about the story of Puritan New Englanders in Hosea Ballou's time. A people steeped in the idea that just one bad action was a pronouncement of your whole unworthiness as a person and would forever separate you from God and every person you loved by sending you to hell and punishing you. In the face of this complete terror, Hosea Ballou offered something more than just simply hope. He offered salvation. He offered the opportunity to become a whole and worthy person, complete and full in our own right. For Ballou, this salvation was rooted in the loving and good being that God was and is. I think here of Psalm 139. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. For Ballou, a God who crafted our being would not then condemn us to be separate from that love and care. And furthermore, he wouldn't punish or torment us. Ballou found this outrageous, and many followed him for this reason. As a side note here, this is my theory about heaven and hell. I theorize that heaven and hell are about the control of people, of the masses, a way to keep the peasantry at the time of their creation and even today from uprising against those who have power and money by having the poor focus on the afterlife rather than on their current state. It was this control through terror that Ballou was countering with God as love. It was radical and revolutionary, and it still is. While universalism might not be rooted for most of us in the idea that God is love, our universalism is most definitely rooted in the understanding that we are all worthy of love and respect and dignity. So go back with me. 15 years ago, I was angry. My whole life, I had been considered unworthy and evil by those that were supposed to love me so that my soul might be saved. I had left Christianity and the only version of God I knew, a vindictive and angry God. I had grown up hurt and harmed, and somehow I still held hope that this was not the way that the world was supposed to work, that people were worthy of more. And so I walk into the Princeton Unitarian Universalist congregation. My partner, Elias, had finally worn me down after months of talking about a church for our family with a 3-month-old. Thank you, Elias. I was nervous and I was defensive. Everyone was so nice, and I was waiting for someone to say something I disagreed with so that I had an excuse to leave. Does this sound familiar to any of you? I sat down with my order of service, and on the back was the listing of the 7 Unitarian Universalist principles. And the first one said, "We affirm and promote the the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I think my mouth dropped open at that point. This is what I had been looking for all my life. A place that said I was worthy, that all people were worthy. A place that embraced love. And as if it couldn't get any better, the Reverend Forrest Gilmore preached about women's rights using the Bible as supportive evidence, not as a weapon against our power as women. And amen, I found a home. It would take me a long, long time to heal, but universalism saved my life. It transformed me into someone new, and it healed me. This is why I believe that our faith is life-saving and salvific. Now, lest we think universalism is simply loving one another unconditionally, universalism holds boundaries and complexities. I love it even more because of that. Universalism says that we can make mistakes without losing our worth and dignity. But universalism also tells us that we must amend and repair those mistakes so that we uphold the worth and dignity of others. It tells us that the process of amending and repair is not one in which we will shame or control you, but a process done to transform ourselves in love. Universalism is truly a religion for all people who are willing to be transformed in love. Universalism saves lives. It saved mine. Each Sunday, I walk into this building with you and know that despite my mistakes, despite my failings, you all love me and will encourage me to do better. And I have the immense privilege of being the minister who gets to love you. This is the power of our faith, the legacy that we have been given. Let us bring this transformative power to the world.
Once again, please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing.
Feels
There is so much gratitude from being in a community that is rooted in love. In the terror of our world, this is the space in which love is present. May we bring forth love to each other and to a world so deeply in need of healing. May it be so. Blessed be.
Please join me. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community carry you.